In today's Health Edge, physically disciplining your child could increase the risk that they will develop mental issues. Canadian researchers found up to 7% of mental health disorders are linked to physical punishments like spanking, slapping, and shoving during childhood. Now, this is the first time corporal punishment has been associated to psychological problems in the absence of other forms of abuse or neglect. The study did not prove a cause and effect, though. We want to take a closer look at this study. Joining us is Dr. Lauren Radke from Beaumont's Center for Human Development in Berkeley. Doctor, thank you. This is a study. Just wondering, you've read it. Your initial thoughts on the conclusions that have been reached here?
Well, I think something important that you said is they did not prove a link. So it's really just a risk factor, but it is a good study. They used a large number, about 34,000 adults over the age of 20, and asked them to sort of retrospectively reflect on their childhood years and the type of discipline that they received most often. So this was frequent spanking, hitting, shoving, grabbing, slapping. And those were the adults that said they were subjected to that more frequently as children, that were more likely to develop such psychological disorders as anxiety, depression, alcohol and drug problems as well.
I think most kids would admit that at one time or another, they got whacked on the rear end by a parent for not obeying or disobeying.
Right.
But that's not really what we're talking about here.
It's not. In fact, those individuals that would say once or twice, or I have a memory of this one specific time, were actually taken out of these numbers. So it was individuals that said they were either sometimes, often, or very often subjected to this kind of punishment.
Right, but not to the point of physical abuse per se, as most of us would understand it.
Correct. So that's the new piece of information in this study, which is these are not individuals that were physically abused in the sense, no marks, no bruising, nothing ever reported, those kinds of things.
So the recommendation from this would be never to spank your child?
Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as the American Psychological Association, strongly discourages the use of physical punishment, and it highlights the importance of other kinds of discipline. So positive reinforcement for positive behaviors, taking away of privileges, those kinds of things.
So there are alternatives, bottom line, to spanking or disciplining your child in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the gardening metaphor. So what you pay attention to grows. So if you're paying a lot of attention to the negative behaviors, those tend to grow. So we want parents to pay attention to the positives, even if they're little ones.
Excellent. Doctor, thank you for the insight.
Absolutely.
Dr. Radke from Beaumont joining us to talk about this very, very important issue and this new study.